That's Monday, the day after Thanksgiving weekend. Now, my eyes are red from watching so much football. There's been a lot going on. There's a lot happening today already. The transfer portal is beginning to fill up. And this is going to happen. It'll be a way of life. We'll talk about that. Also, new coach at Auburn. You know his name. We get counted down to the Heisman Trophy tonight. Talking with a guy who probably should have won one himself. That would be Shane Matthews, the QB, who we brought to you tonight by our friends at TitanMRI.com. Stay tuned. The Buddy Martin Show is about to be on the air on Meldon Law Monday.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye!
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Good evening and welcome to the program. It's Meldon Law Monday. Tonight we get Shane Matthews. By official count, Shane is up to about, 14 shows a week, something like that. Every time I turn on my computer, there's Shane. He's got a lot to say, a lot to talk about, and people want to hear about it. We're going to hear tonight from him. Here's a guy who probably should have had a crack at a Heisman. Didn't get it because the timing wasn't right, and that's what it's about. Heisman week is coming up, and I've got to get my ballot in order, and already I'm having difficulty with the new technology. They develop a new way of registering to get your vote. I've only been doing this since 1902. I mean, used to be able to mail it in, just write it out and mail it in. Then it went, obviously, to email and so on and so forth. Now they got a new system. So far, after 45 minutes, I've not connected, but I will, and I'll get my Heisman vote in like I do every year. So, program tonight brought to you by our friends over at TitanMRI.com. Titan MRI is worth a short drive to Gainesville. No insurance, no problem. You can pay with cash or card with same-day scheduling available. You can start feeling better today. Titan MRI is North Central Florida's premier independent MRI facility. Come see why hundreds of patients are visiting our Gainesville location from Ocala, Marion County, and the Villages. That's TitanMRI.com. Tonight, bringing you the QB from the comfort of his home, where he's no doubt got one eye on the NFL game and probably reading his email and his fan mail and all that stuff. It's always good to have him on the program. That's tonight, Shane Matthews. Hello, Shane.
Hello, buddy. How are you?
I'm a little bit weary from watching games, and you are probably too. We got a lot to talk about. I heard your show today with Scott and different people. I heard you on several times. Heard you broadcast the game. Thank goodness. You didn't have to listen till I was on TV.
I know. I've heard about it. I
mean,
I don't know what made it so bad, but I'm glad I didn't have to watch it.
Well, let me just tell you, all right? And I'm always defending the guys on TV. Like somebody said on Twitter a while ago, give me 10 Gary Danielsons any day of the week over this guy, Brock Osweiler.
I don't know why people. I think Gary Danielson's good. I don't know why
I do
people
too.
don't like him.
And I'll tell you something else, a little known fact I've talked about on this show. You know, David Moulton works with him.
Yeah.
And he verified this. And back in '06, were it not for Gary Danielson's chart he put together in side-by-side comparison, Florida might not play for a national championship because there's a lot of people pushing for a Michigan-Ohio State rematch. And he broke it down and said, look, here it is. Simply, this is it. He had a big part in helping Florida get to the chance of the BCS national championship. So Gator fans ought to be grateful to him. Now, look, almost every fan base thinks the national announcers are against their team. I mean, it just happens everywhere I've ever lived. New York, Denver, here, they hate us.
Well, here's the thing. I don't know why people care. They have no bearing on the game.
Yeah. Well, I guess they just get a little pissed off. And by the way, I got a taste of that. I've got you and Sean in my ears and get it synced up. And then I'm trying to maybe once in a while listen to what they're saying on TV. If for whatever reason I happen to have it, you're down, you were down or in commercial or something. And then I happened to be listening to TV when Osweiler talked about what a terrible call it was. They called pass interference on Florida State near the end of the game, and you saw the play. It was, it was clearly the receiver was bumped. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, you might have missed that one, but I mean, it's at very least 60-40 is going to be called. And so he couldn't get over it. He spent the next 2 plays talking about a crappy call it was, that FSU deserved better than that, and that was just wrong, whatever. Meanwhile, never mentioning the face mask that went uncalled on Anthony Richardson at the end of the game. I mean, it was brutal. And I'm telling you, I finally said, look, I defend these guys all the time. Not this time. He was horrible.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing. We appreciate you listening to us, though, buddy.
Yeah, well, I get a good sense of what's going on. I can't get down in distance. I can't get nothing. I mean, I can't get any insight at all. When you tell me, oh, look, you said in the first quarter they're giving us the pass to the deep secondary, that stuff you don't get from these other color guys. And you know what? I mean, you know the names of players, which is more than most of them know. And anyway, so I just appreciate you and Sean. And you guys have gotten very, very good working together. So you have a good team there. So keep it up. Here's what Michael Burton says. Sean and Shane are outstanding. So we're kissing up to you right off. We must want something for you. I don't know what it is. By the way, long term on the subject, how's it been for you?
It was fun. It was a good year. Obviously, it would have been better if we won more games, but he made it very easy to work with. He's been doing it a long time. Got Tate Casey really involved from the sidelines, giving his perspective. So, I think for year one, it went pretty well, and obviously we'll try to improve next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tate's gotten better because of it. It's kind of tough when you don't get many chances to get any airtime.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that I don't know if it was something that Sean was used to with the ESPN folks really getting their sideline guy, several comments during the game because, Tate's got a hard job because he's just sitting down there watching the game at field level. Hard to see a lot of stuff, but he also gets to see and get the feel of the guys on the sidelines. But when you're not really talking, throughout the game, and then they throw it down to you, hopefully you're ready to talk.
What you got, Tate? Yeah. That's how Larry Munson used to call for Lauren. What you got, Lauren? So let's just say good evening to our people listening to you tonight. Eric Newton is our pole position. Michael Burton, Becky Smith, Carlisle, Rebecca, Martin Dubeck from my daughter from up in Pennsylvania, Rebecca, Terry Johnson, Tommy Gunn Sale, Dan Bond, David Hunter, Toby C. Parda, David Baldoff, Andy McIntyre. Some of these people listen to your show. I hear you talking about it.
Oh yeah. You think Dan Bond's ever missed one of your shows, buddy?
I don't think so.
Yeah. He's
great.
a loyal Gator.
He is. He writes for us sometime too.
Okay.
Michael Burton says, buddy, can you ask Shane about the backup quarterback from Michigan in the transfer portal and what he thinks of him? Also, how is Miller, our backup quarterback that was injured? We can do that now, or we can get into it later, whichever one you want to do.
No, Cade McNamara is who he's referring to, who got beat out at the beginning of the year. I know nothing about him.
Okay, yeah.
Obviously, if he played at Michigan, they recruited him. He had to be a decent player at some point. Jack Miller, I would say he's our – well, I think AR is gone, not playing in the bowl game, so I would say we'd start that game with Jalen Kitna since he's been number 2 for the most part, and obviously the injury to Jack early in the year kind of set him back a little bit. So we'll see. I do think they will still go into the portal and try to get somebody. I don't know who.
Yeah.
There's been rumors about Sam Hartman, but
Right.
I don't know how much truth is to that. So we'll have to wait and see. But I do think there's going to be a ton of turnover.
Well, there's a lot to talk about, and it's already started. It's the cup overfloweth. First of all, Avery Helms is gone from Florida. There'll be many more, as you know. He's gone to the transfer portal. 5 Texas A&M players have hit the portal. 5.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
5. There's a report now also that Spencer Rattler is leaving for Nebraska, which is a real
For
shock.
Nebraska?
Yeah, it's
No.
yeah.
No, I heard he's going pro.
No, according to this guy wrote, and I'm going to say it was true. He says he's going to play for his old coordinator who works for Matt Rule, and he's going to be reunited. Now, I can't very careful. I'm just saying there's a lot of stuff out there, and it's hard to know what's true and what's accurate. I'm just telling you what I heard, and I try to get people that look like they're reputable, and I don't always know that they are. So it's just out there. Also,
Well, I'm trying to. Okay, so Spencer Rattler went to South Carolina because of Shane Beamer being at Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
The offensive coordinator, what is his name, was hired by Shane Beamer. He was with the Panthers, but he was with Matt Rule at his previous stop.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing, yeah, and that guy is going to Nebraska, but this is the only time that Spencer Rattler's had him. So I don't know what's going to happen. I'd heard Spencer Rattler's going into the draft. I did not hear about him going to Nebraska.
Well, I don't know, Shane. Look, what do we know? And I hate to quote
No,
sources,
we don't.
but I hate to quote sources, but we don't have any information. We have no way to get it. We have to
the
sort of
problem
guess.
with Twitter now that I'm learning
Yeah.
is, people make up these, especially on,
Oh, yeah.
on the PGA Tour. There's one that's like the PGA Tour website,
spelled wrong.
and then there's one
T-U-O-R.
that's TUOR.
Yeah.
So you gotta sometimes I look at it, I go, what is going on? And then I realize it's the fake one.
Yeah. These look somehow legit, I'll put it that way. And also, Damian George, offensive tackle from Alabama, gone to the portal. So there's a lot of people going to hit the portal this week, as we know.
Oh, the portal is going to be
overflowing. It's
going to be in the next week or so. It'll be crazy.
What is the first time they can go? December the 5th or something?
I don't know that. I need to find that out.
I think that's what it is, December 5th. But anyway, so now here it comes. So the Exodus has started, and we're going to hear this every night. And on your show, we'll have people with reports, and we'll have to just wait and see. Certainly, the big news is in Auburn today, where Hugh Freeze has been resurrected and forgiven. And he's coming back home at the state of Alabama to coach for Auburn. Some people say, well, you know what? Everybody deserves a second chance, and I'm okay with that. Second, third, whatever. Other people are saying things like, well, he'll never last there, et cetera, et cetera. He's a good football coach. I don't know about his character. I have to leave that up to other people. But certainly now the jokes have started, okay? My favorite ones, there have been some off-color ones, but the favorite one was Auburn went from a Cadillac to an Escort.
That's pretty good.
They're pretty good with it. So anyway, so let's keep checking on that. Supposedly, a report, Jason Marshall has inked a deal with a car customization group. Money from the Sports VIP. I expect that to happen. And I hope this story's true. Looks like the Hugh Freeze is going in there. The Auburn is going to has found a spot to retain Carnell Williams. And for what he's done, he's very popular. A lot of people wish he gotten a chance. And so looks like they're taking care of Carnell or Cadillac, which I think is a proper thing. He did a really good job of holding them together, I thought, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. And I mean, I think that was a smart move for Hugh Freeze to do that. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he's not named like the assistant head coach or something along those lines. Mm-hmm. Coach running backs, and he loves the Auburn Tigers.
Yeah.
That place is very special to him, and it's cool that they kept him around.
I think so, too. Really glad to hear that. So we got some bowl projections. Coach Spurrier asked me today, which one of the bowl games was that? Coach, I don't know. Well, I looked up what was out there, and again, we're just dealing with crapshoots. We don't like to quote stuff. No, we don't
Yeah,
know.
I think I've heard three possibilities:
too,
Vegas, Memphis, and Birmingham.
Well, the ones Sports Illustrated reported the Gasparilla Bowl.
That's where we went last year, right?
Well, I don't think it was the Gasparilla Bowl.
I think it was.
Was it?
I think it was the Gasparilla Bowl last year.
And then this has got to be wrong. Yahoo says Taxslayer Gator Bowl, Florida, not going to happen.
There ain't no way.
No, I mean Notre Dame's, and Florida's not getting that bowl. The other one was Las Vegas Bowl, which we've heard, and this is interesting. Or the one they're talking about, this from CBS. They're saying again, this is their guessing. Florida versus UCLA. That would be an interesting matchup. I think it'd be fun to see. But you say you have heard that definitely the AR is gone and he won't play in the bowl. Is that what you said?
I've not heard definitely, but I've about 99.9%. That's my gut feeling. I've had that feeling since mid-season or before. There's no. I mean, he's going to be a first-round draft pick. You got to go pro.
Well, I've kind of given up the dream and came around that in my column on the weekend saying, as nice as it sounds, a romantic thought and wish it could happen, but it's probably not practical for him. He probably needs to take the money while he's got it. Even all the idea. I love my idea of getting NIL money and getting a Lloyd's of London policy and having him play there. So, but he didn't talk. He didn't talk like a guy was leaving Saturday night now or Friday night.
Here's the thing. And like I said, I think it's best in some situations for him to go. Start your pro career. Go to the franchise that drafts you. It's your job now. I mean, instead of come back, because, buddy, what was the biggest complaint or what did people call my show, wanting him to do?
Anthony?
Yes. Run the football.
Oh, yes, I thought you meant whether it was. Yeah, no, they wanted to.
No. Okay,
course,
so
run the ball, right.
what makes people think he's going to run the football next year?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess
it's not going to change. If people think he's not running because he doesn't want to get hurt, well, then why come back and do the same thing? I just think it's the smartest thing for him to do.
Could be right. I'm holding out 10% hope, but it's likely that that's not going to happen. And you called the shot on the season. You picked him to be, I believe, 6-6, as I recall, and said 7 wins would be a great year. I think you said that. And so pretty much you got the prophecy guy. Here's a good question. Toby Perman says, "I wonder if you will retain Ike Hilliard." Hugh Freeze. That's interesting.
I don't know that.
Mostly don't.
Coaching is all about relationships.
Who you know, who you work with.
And if Ike does not know him personally, I doubt he will retain him.
Yeah. That's the big coaching business. That's how it is. You're going into it, Shane. Your dad was a high school coach, but you're going to go into it.
Why do you think I got a call? Because I know the head coach.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
And you know football, and you make an excellent coach. You can teach mechanics. You can teach. You're good at coaching up the play calls and what have you. So you'll do well.
We'll see. We got to we got to throw completions. That's the key.
Shane, will you remember little guys like me? Remember when I call you up and say, "Coach, can I get an interview?"
Oh, absolutely. But I don't think they'll be beating down our door for interviews.
Well, you're going to be on with me, I understand, which is good. I hope that'll be good on Monday nights when this thing comes about. It'll be the Shane Matthews Show. All right, Luke Fickle to Wisconsin. Good call, huh?
Yeah, I think that's a tremendous hire for Wisconsin because, ever since Barry Alvarez was the head coach, after him, they've always been pretty much within the Wisconsin family, and it's boring as hell. I mean, it's a good program. They've had some success, but it's so damn boring to watch. Fickle did a great job at Cincinnati, and I think I should know this. Are they on the same side as? They're not on the same side as Ohio State and Michigan, right?
No.
Yeah, they're on the other side. So that other side is not very strong. So I think he could be in the hunt immediately for the Big Ten championship. Because I know for a while they had that I think they're East and West now, but for a couple years, it was like the legends and the leaders or some silliness, the way they had it broken down. I could not follow it at all.
Yeah. We got a lot of questions for you folks about who's going to the portal. We don't know any of that stuff.
No.
I mean,
No.
they don't tell us any of that, and
Here-
they don't know
here's-
themselves right yet.
Here's what I would like to tell all your listeners. There's going to
All
be
of
people
our
leaving
listeners, Shane. These are our listeners. Okay?
our listeners. Here, the people are going to leave the portal. You cannot get all upset about a kid leaving the portal. Kids leave because A, it's not a good fit. They don't fit into the plans of that coach, and they want to play. All right, it's the new way of the world. So Avery Helm, he played a lot, probably not as much as he wants. I think he's a good player, but losing him, is it going to hurt the team? Maybe. But he may have an opportunity to play elsewhere and play a lot. But you can't bitch and complain about the portal, but then have no problems with the Ricky Pearsalls and the Osiris Torrances and the
Of course.
Montreal Johnsons coming to your program.
Of course. You made the point today with Steve Russell on one of the 25 shows you do, I think, having to catch about, the best players on the team are the ones that he brought.
Billy brought in. Yeah.
And certainly if he can do that well, and they're going to have to rely on that running game because the quarterback situation is unstable. I see John Kidney right now as the guy. I don't think he's done anything wrong. He
was great the other night.
Yeah.
The situation he was thrown, he didn't throw a pass, but his composure was outstanding. Here's what we don't know, buddy. If he plays in the bowl game, or if he is the starter, he could light it up. I mean, we don't know. He could be Kyle Trask for all we know.
He's more like the quarterback that you like. I know. He looks like a really
here's
good.
Here's the quarterbacks I like. I like great leaders. I like
Accurate
toughness,
passers.
and I like accurate passers. Okay.
Yeah. Does he fit that?
And I like guys that, in today's world, you have to be able to run 4 or 5 times. You don't have to run 25 times.
A willing runner, right? A willing runner.
Yeah, when we ran, it was because of a scramble. That's all you need is a guy that can move around a little bit. You don't want a guy that has cement feet and can't move at all. And maybe he's the guy. Maybe it's Jack Miller. Maybe it's somebody in the portal. Maybe it's Jaden Rashada. We don't know. But the biggest issue, and it's the word that I came up with about midseason, it's consistency. Doesn't matter who it is, they got to play at a consistent level for us to take that next step.
Yeah. Yeah, you want a guy who's a good game manager too, who knows how to run the.
Well, that has the intangibles.
Yeah.
Not the game manager drives me crazy because.
Well, I don't care what you want to call it. It's really being able to manage the game. You still got to manage it.
It's the intangibles, understanding when to throw it away.
Okay. Yeah.
Things of that nature.
All right, I'll go with you on that. A couple of questions you're getting here. First of all, Dan Bond wants you to know he needs a sideline pass when your team comes out to Dallas. He said,
yes, we'll hook him up.
All right. And Kevin Gay says, "Where's Shane going to coach?" So not everybody knows. We need to tell everybody, where you're going to be, what you're going to do, who the team is, what you're doing, and who you're working for.
I will be the quarterback coach for the XFL Orlando Guardians.
Working for
my high school teammate in Florida State, All-American College Football Hall of Fame member, Terrell Buckley.
Good man. Yeah, D-Buck. So there you go. You excited about it?
Yeah. We crank up, I think the second week in January, start training camp. And, we'll see. Should be fun. Hopefully we'll get some good crowds. We know it ain't going to be a lot, but I'm trying to convince them to do some to get whoever buys tickets have a drawing, and that person gets to call the first play of every game. But they don't get to make up a play.
Yeah, call one of yours.
We have like 5. You have 5 plays here.
Yeah.
Give me. You want play number 1 or number 4 or number 5?
Yeah.
We're not gonna let Buddy Martin draw one up in the dirt.
Why not? I could do a good job for you.
Well, the problem is we ain't gonna be practicing it. This will be the day of the game.
Of course, sounds fun. That's what it's all about. Is having that fun, putting the joy back in. Someone called me the other day, and during I guess it was like third quarter of the game, and said, or texted me, said, "This game is exhausting."
Oh,
And I felt that. I felt you felt it because it was such a grueling. I mean, they played so well in the first half. Anthony had the 3 touchdown passes, and you get ahead of a team, and now you're starting to get. And then, of course, I don't know why they decided to go away from the run. I'm not sure. I guess.
well,
they
I
a
have
reason.
my thoughts on that.
What are they?
If we complete passes,
Yeah.
you ain't sitting here asking that question.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know how we scored the 3 touchdowns
Yeah,
in the first half?
of course.
We
yes.
threw the ball.
Yes.
Okay. So look, that's the great thing about sports. That's the great thing about sports talk shows is everybody's an expert and everybody says what you should have done.
Yeah.
And I said it on Steve's show today. There are games that I either coached in or I played in that you won, and you're going, man, we should have done this or we should have done that. Then there are the games that you lose, and you go, gosh, I wish I could have that play back or that series back. I mean, it just happens. And it was a heck of a college football game against in a great environment, and their quarterback was just unbelievable. He was I could not believe what I was
Travis
watching.
Jordan would look like he was the second coming of, I don't know who they would say.
Fran Tarkington.
Or something. I mean, he had power, but he had power. He ran with power, too.
He is so quick. See, I think Anthony's a good runner, but Anthony is a good runner once he gets outside and gets moving. This dude in the pocket,
all over the place.
He is so quick, and then he can outrun you. He's got such good feet. I was blown away at some of the stuff. I mean, we have the perfect blitz on him. We got 3 guys in the backfield. Can't get him on the ground.
Crazy. All right, now here's a couple before you go. I got to get you the people asking questions for you. David Hunter wants to know, Shane, who's more intimidating, Dwayne Johnson or 77-year-old Steve Spurrier?
I haven't met DJ yet.
Yeah.
Some people, The Rock. If he owns the league, just so people know, he and his ex-wife own the league. And I've not met him yet, but I'm anxious to meet him. The HBC is nowhere near intimidating as The Rock. I can promise you that.
Don't tell him. I won't tell him you said that. By the way, those commercials with he and Tebow.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Hilarious.
It's hilarious.
I talked to him about it today about something else, and I brought that up. He says, it's amazing how many times they played that commercial, he said. And the one about him in the car,
Yeah, I laugh every time I watch.
That was funny. And there have been several really good. I like the one where they're picking up the phones. He says, pick it up, and the two guys pick up the whole phone. So what do you do with it, So there's some really good ones. They do a great job. All right, so finally, I want to get your thoughts on the Heisman. And I'm going to ask you a couple of things about it. And I've got my man Kyle is standing by. He's done a little research here for us on the Heisman. And we'll see how good you are, and you might pick up a note or two you can use at some point in time. So let's bring Kyle on in here. Talk to
I will give you my three Heisman
all right, well, hold on.
participants and who should win it.
All right, you can do that too. We're going to do that too. Let's bring.
Since I'm not a voter, but this is who I would vote for.
Well, maybe you become a voter. Who knows? Gosh, I think I've been voting.
It's funny when I was with the Cincinnati Bengals. Carson Palmer was a rookie, and he was a Heisman Trophy winner. And Carson didn't back in those days. Carson didn't watch a whole lot of football, college football, and so I think he watches a lot of it now. But he used to every week he'd be going, "Who should I vote for the Heisman?"
What'd you say?
Well, hell, I don't remember who it was then, but I think the 3 people that I gave him, I think that's who he voted on, but I don't remember who it was.
Yeah. Looks like we caught. We got Fran standing by too. We got Kyle here. Say hello to Coach Matthews, Kyle. And
how are you doing, Mr. Matthews?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
I'm good.
And Fran's is in the orange and blue room, but let's get your name a little smaller than that. All right, so we've been doing a little bit of work here on this. We're going to see if we can get Shane coached up. First of all, Shane, we talked about this on your show last week at the time, And at that time, C.J. Stroud was the leading guy. Of course, he dropped out of that after that game he had on Saturday. And everybody was touting Drake May. You're one of them.
He's still pretty damn good.
No, he didn't have a good game, though. And then I still think Bryce Young hasn't done anything not to be considered. And obviously, there'll be others that'll come along. Obviously, Blake Corum didn't play, so he's out of it. Then you got the guy everybody's talking about, Caleb Williams. You bragged about him a lot, Shane, talked about him, and he certainly earned those kudos this past weekend, didn't he?
Well, I mean, that's how he's played all year long. He had a scramble, buddy. I don't know if you watched the whole game.
Watched the whole game.
He scrambled. He kind of moved around the pocket, roll right, roll back left, and then ran for about 20 yards. They not clocked it, but they measured it. Mm-hmm. He ran 81 yards on that scramble.
Wow. Amazing.
But yeah, he's as closest to Patrick Mahomes as you'll find.
Yeah, he is.
He's way more athletic than Patrick Mahomes, though.
Yeah.
But he can't go in the draft. If he was going in the draft, he'd be the first pick. Yeah. But he's got another year. He'd probably win it twice if he plays the way he's continues playing.
All right, so give me your three, and then I'm gonna let Kyle speak, and Francis is gonna come in and join us here. Quick.
The three that I would invite, Bryce Young. Mm-hmm. He's had a better year than he had when he won the Heisman.
Yeah, good point.
I like Bryce Young. I would take Hendon Hooker. I like
really?
His story. Okay. I think he's had a phenomenal year.
Yeah.
I mean, he's only going to miss a game and a half, really. And then Caleb Williams would be my winner. Now Drake May would maybe get an invite, but Caleb Williams is clearly. I don't know who's won by the biggest margin, but I think he's going to win by the biggest margin ever.
All right, that's your prediction. Now here's a couple little things. Kyle's got a couple questions for you, and I got a little trivia, and I'll bring friends in for that. Kyle, what do you want to say and ask about the Heisman, and besides the fact that why didn't Shane win it? But go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, especially this year, I mean, Hendon Hooker was the leading guy. Hendon Hooker was the leading guy there for a little bit. You guys talked about C.J. Stroud a little bit. Max Duggan at TCU, he's kind of led them into the
he's had a good year. Yeah, he has.
He's had a really good year. He's had three games of over 4 touchdowns. I don't think a lot of people are talking about him. He's kind of been doing a lot out there for TCU.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to be able to take Big 12 Player of the Year. Yeah. And I think that he definitely deserves a spot, at least sitting there in New York. Mm-hmm. I agree with you, Mr. Matthews, about Drake May. I think he's been incredible. I just think it's hard with North Carolina, not really winning as much. But I think Duggan's literally put TCU into the playoff consideration. Mm-hmm. And then outside of Duggan, Bijan Robinson, that running back for Texas, he's had, I think, 2 or 3 games over 200 yards, 2 games of over 4 touchdowns. So those 2 guys are kind of my dark horses. But I agree with you guys. I think Caleb Williams has kind of cemented himself, especially after last week. But yeah, Max Duggan and BJ Robinson are 2 guys that I think that deserve some consideration for sure.
Mm-hmm. All right. So someone's complaining about the sound. You're the only person complaining about it, Ramon. So I don't know. All right. So we're going to get friends, and then we're going to get in here. I got a bunch of little minutia about the Heisman. I want you guys to jump in. We'll have some discussions and we won't have trivia. We'll just, let's see, maybe go get Franz here. And Coach Matthew, you all right for a minute or two? I know you're watching the game. All right.
I'm watching.
Okay. All right. So let's go get Franz and make it 4 here. And good evening to you, Franz. You can say hello to Coach Matthews and Kyle. And all right. You there, Franz?
I am here.
All right. But any quick thoughts on the Heisman?
Well, I think it's Caleb Williams to lose, and unless he stinks it up in the championship game of the Pac-12, which he's capable of doing, because Utah is really darn good at setting the edge and can do some things. They've already beaten Southern Cal once. Could they do it again? It's I don't know. It could be It could be interesting. I think that unless he stinks it up in the Pac-12 championship game, I can't see how he doesn't win it. Quite frankly, although I will agree with Max Duggan. Certainly, has earned some kudos. He's earned a chance to get there. I don't think he's earned the right to be there, but I think he's earned the right to be on the podium. I can't see how he hasn't.
All right.
I think I agree with Shane. I think Bryce Young has had a better year this year than he had last year.
Yeah.
I can't see how he doesn't make at least the podium. I don't think he's going to win it because he's lost 2 games, and they'll say that, okay, if he was the Heisman Trophy winner, he would have rallied his team to win those 2 games against Tennessee and LSU.
All right.
But I think he is a better quarterback this year than he was last year.
All right, back to a couple of points here, and I know Shane doesn't know this. I guarantee you that Kyle doesn't. You might, friends. It used to be this trophy started out just to be sort of teams east of the Mississippi River. They started in 1935, and for a long time it was hard for a Southerner to ever get a break. It was always an Army player or somebody, Princeton or something, and getting a player in from the South. The first guy that cracked that code was Frankie Sinkmas from Georgia in '42. Finally, a guy from the South won it, and then they went along again. It was 1959 again before Billy Cannon won it for the national champs or for the LSU Tigers, and then it still was a stigma against players because everybody thought the Big Ten was superior, and the LCC was nothing. And fans, you know that. And then, of course, 1966, I remember writing a 6-part series on the Heisman and what Spurrier's chances were to win it. And the prevailing thinking was by people I talked to, a whole bunch of people I talked to, back when they would tell you their votes, was that Spurrier had too much to overcome. Of the Eastern Bloc of the media would never vote for Steve Spurrier. And probably if Joe Durso of the New York Times hadn't been there the day he kicked the field goal to beat Auburn, he probably wouldn't have run it. So that's how it used to be, guys. That was rare. That was a big thing for Southern players, right, France, to win the Heisman.
If the voting had taken place after the Miami game, he wouldn't have won it.
No doubt about
Hendricks
it.
sacked him 8 times in that game.
Yeah, the Mad Stork, he was crazy. He went crazy. So, all right. So, anyway, it's still, in my mind, the most famous trophy. I know others will argue that they're to me, in sports, the Heisman Trophy, and it stands for excellence. And I think they try to get it right. Yeah, Michael, you're right. Norm Crossan did a great job. He helped get the word out to everybody about him. But Shane, what would that have meant to you to win the Heisman? Pretty much everything.
Oh, right. Yeah, I mean, I had a very good chance of winning it in my junior year. That was my best year.
What'd you finish?
Fifth for some reason.
Wow,
It
that's
should have
pretty
been
darn
higher,
good.
quite honestly.
Yeah.
But I mean, who knows? I mean, it's a life-changing deal. It's a small fraternity that yeah, it's a pretty cool deal. There's no question about that.
I love those commercials. Kyle, have you seen them with Coach Spurrier?
Yeah, with Spurrier. I heard you guys talking about him.
Yeah, I talked to him today about it. He said he was shocked at the one that they kept playing with him and Tim, where he's in the car, and Tim's making this great speech, and he said, "Come on, Tim, let's go," and he pops the clutch, and they jerk their heads around, and that's funny. And have you seen those, France?
Oh yeah, I have. It was it's funny stuff. Spurrier does a great job of kind of deadpanning in that one, and just kind of and Tebow is looking so very serious about this thing about it's a 4 on the floor sports car, and Tebow has no clue what he's doing, and finally, Spurrier says, just put it in first gear and let's get the hell out of here, or something like that.
All right, Coach Matthews, I'll let you go. You got to do a show tomorrow morning. Thank you for being on the program tonight. And tell folks tomorrow who you got on and how
All right, fellas.
Who you got on tomorrow? You must have some spectacular guests.
I got some guy named Buddy Martin will be on in the morning. Also,
big
Kevin
show.
Brockway talking Gator hoops.
Oh, a big show! Wow, that's good.
Yeah,
I'll be tuning in. Oh, wait a minute, I'll be on it. So, thank you, Shane. Great job. Appreciate it, buddy.
All right, y'all have a good night.
Shane Matthews going back to his NFL game. Thank you, Shane. Really good to have someone like Shane on us talking about what he knows he knows them. Kyle, your final thoughts. You're doing a story on the Heisman voters, right? And
yes.
this weekend.
Kind of just looking into the breakdown on who's voting, the voters around the area, stuff like that. That's always been kind of a holiday in my household growing up, that was watching the Heisman and stuff like that. I've always been kind of intrigued. So I'm looking forward to being able to kind of report on that and dive deeper into that.
We'll look forward to it, Kyle. Good job, buddy.
Thank you,
appreciate
guys.
it.
I appreciate it. We'll see you guys soon.
All right. Thanks, Kyle. Well, Franz is a young man who's, we were like that once, all starry-eyed, right?
Oh gosh, I remember, I remember going up to Ole Miss for my first college football game to write about, and Johnny Vaught coming out and just intimidating the heck out of me.
Tell them who Johnny Vaught was. They got to know how big a deal he was in the SEC.
Well, before everybody thought Bear Bryant was the bomb, there was Johnny Vaught. And over a 13-year period, he had probably as great a record as there's ever been in college football, just about, with the exception maybe of what Nick Saban has done recently or what Bear did from 1970 to 1980. But my goodness, Johnny Vaught was a tremendous coach, and what did him in actually was when they went to platoon football. In one platoon football in the South, before there was integration, there were enough football players in the state of Mississippi, and everybody had teams when they dressed out 30, 35 guys on the varsity. And this is up until about 61 or 62. When they went to platoon football, all of a sudden everybody started signing. Bear Bryant, for example, once signed, I think, 80 guys in his freshman class. There were no limits on it. And the whole thing changed. But when it was one platoon football, Johnny Vaught succeeded Bob Nealand as the greatest coach consistently in the country. It really changed when it went to platoon. It changed the whole dynamic of the game, and you had entire programs that got wiped out. For example, Florida played the week before. Florida played Georgia Tech, and the game that really turned people say that turned the page onto the modern era of college football for the Florida Gators. The game before that, I believe Florida, if I'm not mistaken, Florida beat George Washington.
That's
George
correct.
Washington hasn't had a team in years. Stetson, up until the mid-1950s, Stetson played Division I college football. People don't remember that. They had a blocking back who became known as the strongest man in the world, named Paul Anderson. Believe it or not.
Yeah.
Guy used to take
Georgia.
Used to take his hand and take a railroad spike and drive it into a block of wood.
Yeah, a lot of good stories there. I believe Vaught won. I think he won maybe 6 SECs. He won 5 or 6. I think maybe he's tied with Spurrier. I'm not sure. Look it up.
I'll tell you in just one second.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 6, but it might have been 5. So that's how good a coach he was. And the game, as you point out, changes drastically. And so the integration thing.
It's kind of like General Nealon was the same thing. You know, the two platoon football, he could have never survived in two platoon football. Right. Johnny Vaught from 1947 until 1963. He had a 4-5-1 season and a 5-5 season, but then from 51 until 62, oh my gosh, they won. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. Well, they won 3, 4, 5. He won 6. Yes, he won 6.
Same as Spurrier. Spurrier claimed 7, and should have had it. But all right. So let me ask you about a couple other things here because we haven't had a chance to talk much about it. By the way, the baseball standings are out for D1. The rankings for I don't know which round. I think it's baseball, but anyway, as you might guess, Florida's ranked number 1, LSU second, FSU third, Vandy fourth. And anyway, so it looks like a pretty good season about to take place. You'll be, I'm sure, covering some of that. Basketball been a disappointment. I don't know what happened out in Portland. I'm sure way out there and 5 time zones away and, struggling. And they had a bad night, a bad day against West Virginia. And West Virginia hit them in the mouth. And I don't know. Have you heard anything about that? Or you have any thoughts about it?
Well, here's what happened was West Virginia came out and played very, very physical. And guys were looking for calls that weren't coming. And as Todd said, there were a couple of calls that might have gone our way but didn't. And we wind up with Jatoba with 4 first-half fouls and Castleton with 3. And from that point, the way the game was being officiated, and this is not an excuse because it's up to you've got to adjust to how the game's being called. And this game was not being called favorably in Florida's favor. I would tell you that it was a no body bag, no foul kind of game on one end, and it seemed that there were a lot of touch fouls called on the other. But that's just one opinion. And sometimes games get like that. Now, that was at the beginning. I will say this. Toward the end of the first half, I think the Zebras kind of decided, we better even things out. Because at one point in time, Florida had like 12 foul calls on them. And West Virginia had 3 or 4, I think it was. The disparity was great. But just the same, you got to adapt to that. They did not. West Virginia got in their heads. They let them get in their heads. And it turned out to be a terrible, terrible ball game for the Gators. And it's sad because Florida played a great game against Xavier and lost to a team that had just more size and more physical strength up there. They had 2 7-footers in the lineup, and it paid off for them. They were able to neutralize Castleton pretty well with that, and they won the game as a result. So then they had a great game, a really complete game, I think, against Oregon State. And then this last game's the game everyone will remember, and they will remember it badly. So I wouldn't say that it was a total disaster, but I would say that it kind of lets this team know that the game is, what was the old Yogi Berra line? Half of baseball is 90%. No, 90% of baseball is half mental. That's what he said. Yeah. And you could say the same thing about basketball. 90% of basketball is half mental. They've got to do a much better job between the years. That they can't get run off the floor because they didn't adjust mentally.
For sure. All right, let's get to coaching changes. You wrote about some of your column today. If you're not reading France by letting Gatorbait and his thoughts of the day, you're missing it. Nobody does it better than him. Keeps up with a lot of different things. You had your coaching list today of people. Of course, this time of year, you hear all about the bowls, now all about the transfer portal, and now about the coaching changes. Hugh Freeze, we know, is going to Auburn. There are other things. We know that Fickle's going to Wisconsin. Now let's talk. I don't believe this. There's a question about Toby right there about Urban Meyer going to Cincinnati. I get why people would make that assumption because it's where he came from. His sister was one of the was a provost there. The son's worked for Fickle on the coaching staff, whatever. And Urban has a great affinity. So I cannot see any way Urban would go to Cincinnati. You?
I don't see any way Urban Meyer ever coaches another football game. Period. Just don't see it. I think he's kind of figured out his health is worth it to him to stay away from the game because he has an inoperable aneurysm as you know, in the back of his head, and stress makes it worse. So
it's actually a cyst, but it's
cyst. Is that what? That's right. It's an arachnoid cyst, not an aneurysm. Right. I got the two mixed up. It's an arachnoid cyst. And it's not going to go away. It's inoperable. And stress makes it get worse, gives them the headaches that come on like migraines. And as a former migraine sufferer, I can tell you, migraines are bad news. And this is what comes on like a migraine. And it doesn't go away easily. I just think that he's had his fill of it. He likes living down in Sarasota, likes his 38-foot boat, that he gets out in the water on a regular basis, loves the
ain't
sunshine.
A boat, that's a yacht.
That's still a boat. If you go down there and look in the harbor there in Sarasota, they got ships and they got yachts and they got boats. Urban's got a big boat, but it's a boat just the same, particularly when you compare it to the ships and the yachts that are in the harbor there.
Yeah. A lot of people want to know questions from you. Like, here's one from John Brock asking about Purdue and Portland, the basketball.
Good, really, really good basketball team. Very, very solidly coached. Always have been. Never with 5-star talent, but always with 5-star coaching of the talent that they have. We talk about, for example, in football, that coaches have to recruit to their own strengths. If you're a defensive coach, you recruit mostly defensive players and you give the offense over to somebody who knows what he's doing, and vice versa. Basketball, if you're a defensive minded coach, you recruit guys that can get out there and get after people. And that's what he does there at Purdue. Purdue gets after people. They've always got size, and they're going to pound you inside. They're going to out-rebound you. And that's what they did out there in Portland. They're a really good, solid program.
All right, so here's one before we get to our final topic, which will be paring down the roster, which you talked about so eloquently all last month. And Van Der wants us to speak about Swanee College of the South. I can tell you this. They were in the SEC, first of all. They had some great teams. Yeah, so they were really quite a football powerhouse for a while. But for whatever reason, they dissipated and dropped out and became a small school. What is your best story on Swanee?
My best story is they lost to they had some great teams early, and then they lost a couple games, dropped out of the SEC, and then they hired a guy named Majors, Shirley Majors, who had a pretty famous kid named Bobby, who became the head Johnny. Excuse me. Bobby was another one of his sons. Was an All-American at Tennessee. Johnny was the coach at Tennessee. Bobby was All-American defensive back at Tennessee.
Johnny was an All-American tailback.
Yeah, and should have won the Heisman Trophy, but lost it to McDonald. What was his name? At Oklahoma in 1950. 1958.
I saw that team play at Florida Field when Majors was playing for him, and that was They were really a good team. So, all right.
That was Bowden Wyatt had taken over the Tennessee program for General Nealon, if I'm not mistaken.
Bowden Wyatt got fired. He got to drinking too much. He was in Ocala at a spring meeting when they used to have their spring coaches meeting at Silver Springs. And he is already on thin ice, and he threw a sports writer in the pool, Alf Van Hoos in the Birmingham News. And that was the end for Bowden Wyatt. That was did him in. Had some good.
I thought you were going to say he threw you in the pool.
That was Lindy and Fanny and Bubba McGowan. Those guys did that. That was my brand new tie, and I made Lindy. I never forgot that with Lindy all that time. But I'll say one thing that Fred Pankos in his clothes, because my glasses came off, dove in the pool and got the glasses. So at the end, and Stephanie, Lindy's wife, by the way, R.I.P. Lindy, has been gone about 5 or 6 years now. She was just great. She took that tie home. I just bought it, and it was $25 back then. That was a lot of money for a tie then. And she took that tie home and pressed it, made it look like brand new. And I always appreciate it about Stephanie. So people that we knew down the road. All right, so Franz, take us out with the comments about the rebuilding of this team. There's activity already in the transfer portal. You predicted there would be 25 or how many, 30 people, the new people on the team?
35.
Yeah.
We're going to lose 35 guys.
Yeah, minimum. And so now it's starting to happen. Texas A&M's got 5 guys in the portal. Avery Helm of Florida is in the portal now. Offensive tackle Damian George is in the portal now from Alabama. So it's starting to happen. There's going to be a flood of these kind of things. And the latest is, and I've not confirmed this, but it looks legit, a report out of Columbia that South Carolina quarterback Spencer Rattler is entering the transfer portal, believed to be headed to Nebraska with former offensive coordinator Marcus Satterfield, who just joined Matt Rule's staff. So that would be a blow to Shane Beamer, wouldn't it?
That would be a huge blow to him. A couple of interesting guys in the portal today. Luke Altmaier is leaving Ole Miss. And I don't blame him. He's not going to beat out Jackson Dart, but he's a quality quarterback. And somebody's going to snap him up. My guess is if Will Rogers turns to the NFL, which he could do out of Mississippi State, this is a Starkville boy, and I think he would probably be the guy that would be the ideal fit there for the Pirate. I just can't think that he would go anyplace else except for that. But that was a big name. Let's see, Elijah Judy, who I thought was a big time defensive tackle when he was signed. Ish Harris, Donnell Harris, running back L.J. Johnson Jr. and punter Alan Guerrieri from Texas A&M. Donnell Harris is an interesting guy for the Gators because they offered him. He's from Miami, Gulliver Prep, big time guy there. L.J. Johnson Jr., another big time name to think that Florida may be in on because Louisiana really recruited him hard, and believe it or not, he goes to Texas A&M, but Louisiana recruited him very, very hard a couple years ago. So that's another one that's in there. Florida today, Avery Helm gets in there, so Florida now has 7 in the portal. Malik Hornsby went in the portal today from Arkansas, another big one to go in there. So, and it's only going to get worse. 20.9% of all the starters in Division I transferred last year. You got 131 schools, and what's that? 44 times 131. That's what you get on your 2 deep there, and 22 starters for at times 131. That's still a lot of people to transfer. We're going to have a lot of them there. 59%, buddy, of all the guys in Division I and the power, and particularly at the power level, found jobs. 41% of the guys did not find jobs. There is a flip side to this, and I think this is one of the reasons why Billy Napier did not purge last year. Because if you looked at all these kids that were in the that are going to be able to, when they transfer out, will have graduated. And I think that's what he did. Was I think he told guys last year, I think he was straight up with them and said, here's the deal, guys. You gotta make good, but you got to make good in the classroom too. Because if you decide to leave here, you better have a college degree.
Right.
And most of the kids who are going to be transferring out are going to have college degrees. For example, Josh Brown, college degree. Trent Whittemore, college degree. Griffin McDowell, college degree. Marco Ortiz, Kamara Wilcoxon, and Avery Helm all will be leaving here with college degrees.
All right, now I want you to do me a favor. Tie a bow on this. I'm going to let you hear a message from Meldon Law. Come back, close it out with where you think the Billy Napier regime is going and how, if they're on plan. Here's Meldon Law. Things don't always go your way. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And that's the nature of sports. But when it goes right, it's really a lot of fun. And nobody has more fun rooting for the Florida Gators than this guy, Jeffrey Meldon. It's been quite a year, huh?
Yeah, we had a blast. For the first time in my life, I got to ride with the Gator football team on the plane up to Nashville, Tennessee. And that was quite an experience.
I'll bet you had a good trip up, at least, for sure.
Oh, man, buddy, the difference between the mood on the plane going up versus the mood on the plane coming back was night and day.
Yeah, it's a tough one when your team doesn't win. Now, the rest of the season, we'll see. But, Jeffrey, there are other sports at Florida. When things are not going the way you want to, when you're not winning championships, what does one do? You like all the sports.
Yes. Well, we're lucky. We got an exciting basketball team. They came back, the fourth largest comeback in Gator basketball history against FSU last Friday night, and it was really amazing. I'm sitting there with Scott Strickland, the athletic director, and he and I were just like regular fans. I want to let everybody know that Scott Strickland, he's stomping his foot on the ground. He's like going, using all the expletives and everything else, when the Gators would, do something good or not so good. And it was very exciting. We had about 80 boosters and athletic association team members at a great steakhouse watching the Gator basketball game. So that's an example of no matter what, in all kinds of weather, we all stick together.
All right, thanks very much to that report. Now we know that Scott Strickland swears, friends. Just a joke. All right, Francis, it's been a lot of talk about the season. It was 6-6. Didn't end it the best way in the world. They got a good recruiting season lined up. Transfer portal. Take us out with some of your final thoughts about the football program and Billy and where it's going and how you feel about that, all right? Hang on one second. All right, go ahead.
They're right where most people picked them to be at the beginning of the year. Most people said this is a 6-6 team that, if stars and planets align, could go 8-4. We thought they could do a little better than that. They didn't. We thought they could do 8-4, and they didn't. But they wound up right where everybody thought they were going to be. Progress was made. I think that if they could find a defense next year, I think they're going to be just fine. I think we're going to have a waiting time right now to find out who's going to be leaving, who's going to be staying. I think the big one that everybody wants to know about is Anthony Richardson. Does he stay? Which I think he needs to. He needs to stay. And yet at the same time, buddy, if he can get drafted on the first or second day, you got to go. You got to go, because the amount of money that's going to be there, this is life-changing money. This is the kind of money that sets you up for life. And you just can't turn that kind of money down. You got to be able to you just have to take that kind of money. So it's going to be a tough decision for him. And he's got to get really good advice coming on. I know Billy will give him good advice, but he's got to get good advice too from his agent has got to work these NFL people hard and get a really true evaluation of where he stands and where he can go. I've heard first round by a lot of people, and yet there are other people who have talked to NFL people who say he's a fourth round guy if he comes out right now. And if he's a fourth round guy, stay here, get better. If he's a first round guy, take off and take the money, and we'll be able to say, we're really, really happy we had you. A friend of mine, and I haven't checked the numbers on it yet, said if you check what Anthony Richardson has done in 13 games, because he had a start last year and then 12 starts this year. But if he told me that if you take the 13 starts and compare them to the Lamar Jackson's first 13 starts as a college quarterback up at Louisville, it's astonishing, the comparison and how close it is to being exactly the same. I haven't checked it, but I think it's worth checking into. I know there's a lot of Lamar Jackson, I think, was faster and shiftier, but I definitely believe that Anthony Richardson has more physical skill than Lamar Jackson had. And Lamar Jackson is one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the National Football League now. So tough decisions have to be made. If I were asked by Anthony Richardson, what would you do if you were me? The first thing I would tell him was I would own the world, because I never had that kind of talent in all my life in anything I did. And he's got physical gifts like nobody I've ever seen. But what I would tell him to do is go with your heart. But secondly, if you decide to stay during the summer, get with George Whitfield, the quarterback guru out in California. Anthony's made close to $2 million on the NIL deals. He's going to be able to afford it. Go out there in the summer months for a couple of weeks with George Whitfield. If that guy could teach Cam Newton how to throw accurately, he can certainly work with Anthony Richardson and get him into a better frame.
Yeah.
So that's what I would tell him to do.
And that's good advice, Franz. Good stuff as always from the great Franz Beard. You read him in Gator Bait. Hear him here with us. Appreciate it, my friend. And by the way, happy birthday to Carlita, one of the great moms around. And I think she was
yes, she is.
Pretty soon she's gonna catch me. She keeps on hanging around. So, all right, Franz, take care, buddy. Good job. Tell her I said again, happy birthday. All right.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it, buddy.
All right, Franz Beard. Thanks to our guests. Thanks to our sponsors. Back tomorrow night, same time, same station.